Hello everybody, today I'm going to discuss a recently implemented feature which allows for sending room-specific messages on the server. So let's start from the profile. I still haven't pushed the modifications to the Git repository. I'll do it after. So I modified the message to proto by adding the function called send message to room. It accepts message to room request and responds as message response. So I updated the message response as well. I added another field called success. So it basically means that if message has been sent successfully, it's true. Otherwise, it's false. That's simple. And the sent message to room is generated in here. So basically, you need to generate the message to proto once again so that the modifications are applied. But when I'll push the modifications into the repo, the generated code files will already be there. So we can also check them. So wait. Yes, so they're basically defined here as well. Here and the implementation is here. Then I modified the room the main.go, which is our client. I added a function called send room message to server. I had another case to handle the room specific messages. So when you are when you want to send a message to all the clients in the room, so it basically checks whether you're connected to some room or not. If you're not, it just continues the loop and prints out a fancy message telling you that you're not connected. Basically, we need to be connected to some room to be able to send room specific messages. Then after, in case you are connected, you need to specify a message. So message is read from the buffer and it's streamed. So then we call the room message to server function by sending our client current room ID message that we generated. When current room ID is -1, it basically means that you are not connected. So in here, it's not -1 because we passed the if statement logically. So the function is called. How's it working? It's actually uh, the implementation of the send room message to server function. So basically, call. It's actually a wrapper. It's a wrapper for the send message to room function, which is this. So we check the context, get our context, and we call our return. So client send message to room. We forward the context. We specify our message to room request body from proto package. We specify our room ID, which is room ID, which is so int. We just convert it into string. Send room ID as string. It's actually it should have been better if we just send a regular int, but I think that was an oversight. It's actually fine. That's fine because I just handled room ID being string in the server side. So we'll send our message. So the message is sent to the server. It's handled in send message to room. It's an RPC function. Call it and send message to room. So we'll call. So this function is also called. It checks whether the GS so game servers RDB is null or not, because we set up our RDB servers in the main function in here when we register our server, register our game service in the proto. We specify the RDB, which is the already connected Redis client with with a valid Redis address that is running. So it's actually our Docker container. Is this? So basically, specified address we provided in the as a flag here. So it's such a command. We specified a Redis. Sorry, in here. So we specify the address as this was the name of the container and its port. So it's assigned. We generate our RDB. We assign it to the proto RDB attribute of the service of the service that we're registering. Then we ping to all the stuff not necessary to cover, as I've already covered it in the previous tutorial. So we send the message, we check it. If it passes, if it's not null, the RDB is initialized, we get our room ID. So get room ID is another function in the message pb.go. So basically get our room ID, valid room ID, in string format, in string. So then we convert it into decimal, so integer basically, a 64-bit integer. Why? Because the thing is that in the room key, the right side of the so the one of the components of the room key is actually an integer that is actually specified in the Redis server. So in case we specified a string, we'll just get an error. We'll It'll won't be able to find an appropriate room with such an ID. That will be a weird actually behavior. I was actually tackling with it for a bit of time. I just forgot that Redis was handling it as integers. That's why yeah, I just spent a bit of time on that. So we'll convert it into string, so into integer. Sorry, into integer. We pass the room key into into this part of the code. So basically, here we're identifying on all the RPC addresses of the current room. So basically, the RPC addresses, as I explained in the last tutorial. So it contains of two parts. So the first part is the RPC address, and the second part is the client name. Is a client name with the semicolon in between. So basically, we let's just here it's another checkpoint whether we parse it, whether the RPC addresses are parsed or not. So we check whether the RPC addresses is null or not. So it can be null if we don't if we don't cast the room ID string into integer. It'll just be null and will return an error. Then we broadcast the message to all the clients in the room. Basically, the algorithm is linear, which is okay as long as you don't have thousands of players in your room. So that should be fine. So here we're doing exactly what I just said about the RPC address, that it's comprised of the two parts essentially. The first one is the actual RPC address of the client, and the second part is its nickname, non-unique nickname. So here we're getting an actual RPC address by splitting by the semicolon. Then we check whether the RPC components is greater than 0. If it is, we get the first element. The first element is the actual RPC address. Then we call the client. We check whether the client, which is a map that maps like RPC addresses to the actual client information, has the actual client with its RPC address. If it does, if it does, and RPC client, the client info. So if the client, the value null, is not null, and the RPC client is not null, and it exists, then we process the further part. So we the message, broadcast the message. We increase the success count that we need in here. So basically, in here, if the success count is greater than zero, we set up the body as success to true. Otherwise, the main.go will just scream and shout that success is not true, messages failed, even though it'll be successful at sending the messages. That's why we just set up such a little checkpoints here. So if the success count is greater than zero, we just we just set up true to success. If not, set up false success and return it as a response, as a message response. So we can try to run the thing. So I'll just make sure that everything is correct. Clients, yes. That's all right. That should work. So I just prepared three terminals beforehand to showcase you the functionality. You can run the client. Let's pass it through the firewall. Pass all of them. So let's simulate the following behavior. Let's create a room, connect two players, two clients into the same room, and the other one just keep it outside and then just connect it to some other room. Let's create a room, new room. Let's automatically connect this one. It's also weird why it's joining two times. That's also weird. I gotta fix this part. So on this port can remain the same. This client can remain roomless. Let's send a message. Hello there. See, that works. This one doesn't get it. Now we can create another room. Another room. Let's try to send a message in here. Hello there. Again, this client doesn't receive a message because of this part. So this part, it just doesn't get it because it's not in the client, so it's not in the room, the actual room. Let's try to send a message from here to make sure everything working okay. And the other guys don't receive the message also. One specific message. Alcohol. Get it in here. And they also get in here. There's some indentation error. So the typo thing, it's just, that's not a huge issue. I can just fix that. So that was the feature that they implemented. I'll let you know about those features that I'll be working on quite soon. I'll try to make some tutorial videos on them as well. Thank you for your attention.